This week we're going to start the practices and end the practices the same. So for the next couple of breaths, just allow the breath to happen, not trying to do anything to manipulate it. For the first couple of breaths, not even really paying attention. Just let the breath happen. Then after you've had a couple, 2 or 3 maybe, then notice the breath. Begin to pay attention to the breath. Become mindful of the breathing that is happening. Maybe you notice the breath is noisy. Maybe you know notice that the breath has lots of pauses, has lots of jerks, or feels very shallow. Now we want to begin to make the breath serene. That means we want to alleviate any noises, any pauses, any jerks. And begin to extend both the inhalation and the exhalation. You might notice that you become more aware of the breath. And focus on things to make the breath more serene. You might notice that the body feels more relaxed. And perhaps the mind even feels more settled. From this attention, you begin to get stillness. And it is from that place of stillness that we become aware of the inner dweller. Be still and know that I am God. We have to quiet the mind, the body, the breath. And from this place of stillness, perhaps you want to set an intention for this evening's practice. Maybe that's just asking yourself, why are you here? And continue with the breath if that is what is feeling appropriate. If you're ready to move into nature vayamam, bringing the right hand thumb up 6 inches in front of the nose, left hand behind thumb up, opening the eyes, focusing on that front thumb, seeing 2 thumbs behind, alternating to the back thumb, 2 in front, moving between the 2. The next time the eyes approach the front thumb, release the thumb, center the eyes, blink and shut, allowing the eyes to soften to the back of the skull, bringing those palms together, rubbing them together, getting lots of heat, lots of energy. And when you feel that heat, gently cup the palms over the eyes, taking the energy from the crown chakra, directly through the arms, the forearms, the palms, back into those eyes. And then once that heat begins to dissipate, gently give the eyes, temples, cheeks, anywhere that needs any extra touch or healing. And when you're ready, go ahead and open the eyes. Take the hands on either side of that right thigh, lengthen, and just begin to walk down over that leg. So feel like you're trying to get the navel right in the center of that thigh. As much as you can, keep lengthen the spine. Lacey, it's kind of funny. The hot yoga lady is right next to the air conditioning vent. Walk it up, take it to the second side. Keep pressing firmly through that right side. And then walk it back up. Push the legs forward. Just give them a little bit of a shake. And if you're not comfortable sitting with your butt in between the legs, you can sit with the butt on the heels, or you can sit on some blocks. Then you're going to take your left arm, and I want you to place the elbow just between the knees and the palm facing down. Now squeeze those knees into the elbow. So before we go anywhere, let's get some of the basics here so that you make this very active. So if at any point, right, if we're here for a bit longer than you want to be, then sit on the block. And like I said, you don't have to sit with the feet. You can always sit with the heels, so they're underneath the buttocks. So now you've got your squeezing the hips, or squeezing that elbow in. Palm is down, pressed to the floor. Spread those fingers. Now press into the mat and begin to pull that arm back. So it's isometric. It's not really going to move too much, right? But you're pressing and pulling back. Now take your right hand behind the head. Yeah, left hand. Yep, sorry. And then you're going to just take that arm down And if you can take the elbow to the opposite side, take it to the opposite side and bring it up. Now keep that arm that's on the floor, keep it active. Don't let it just hang out there. It's got a job to do, so let it do its job. Maybe you can get a little bit more of a twist each time you come up. Maybe you can't. It doesn't really matter as long as you are putting in your full effort this evening. Notice if the wrist is starting to lift. See if you can flatten the wrist out. The next time you come to the part of the journey that feels, I want to stay here because I feel like I'm a little bit more resistant, I want you to stay there. And I want you to focus on the breath. So don't let the breath go back to being shallow or jerky. Is that bottom arm as active as you can get it? Right, this is your practice. You made the intention to be here, so make the most of it. Right, that's what happens in life, right? We came, we're here, we got a human body, but we're just existing. Go ahead, release, and then what I want you to do is just flip the hand over. So now, if you have a watch on, it'll tend to keep you from going all the way down, so you can remove the watch. But as much as you can, feel like you're really trying to get the wrist down, spread those fingers, and try to keep the thumb and pinky to the floor. And you go up and down again. At the same time, you're still adding that isometric movement and pulling back. Right, we go through life just floundering. We go through life just existing, not experiencing, not putting on our full effort, not putting in our full attention. So at the point of departure, we've not made any changes. We're still existing the same way that we existed in the previous lifetime, right? This is part of this whole Guru Purnima week, is examining our practice, the physical component, the pranayama, the meditation component. Next time you come to that spot that feels like, yep, it would behoove me to stay here for a second or two, then stay there. And then go ahead and release, switch sides. If you feel like you need to come up to all fours to reset, to maybe do a cat and cow, that would be fine. The thing is we need to learn how to live joyfully so that we can die gracefully. And when you're ready, go ahead and begin, but make it active. How can I ever die gracefully if my entire life has been miserable? Because of the way I think, because of the way I act, because of the way I speak. So you need to ask yourself, what does living joyfully mean? Right? If we think of the great saints and sages, the ancients, when you get to that spot that needs some attention, stay there. Go ahead, release just long enough to flip the palm over. It was service. Complete selfless service. But we can never get to the point of selfless service if we don't understand who we are, if we don't understand what it is we're doing and why it is we're doing it. Make it active. When you get to a spot that feels beneficial to stay there, stay there. The next exhalation, go ahead and release. Take your strap and bind it. So go ahead and push up to all fours. Like I said, if you do need to reset, you can do some cat and cows, but the strap, we want it about shoulders distance apart. Then you're going to take your hands, and you're going to place it at the forearms. You're going to make some fists. So it's more in the middle of the forearms, right? Not up towards the elbow or down towards the wrist, but more in the middle. Make some fists. So the palms start facing forward. Make some fists. Keep everything squeezing in and bring it up towards the shoulders and lower it down. Now I want you to really put some effort in, like you're trying to break this strap apart. So shoulders distance. Those hands facing forward. Not super tight fist, but loose fist. And you go up and down. Squeeze the hands up towards the shoulders and then lower them down towards the thighs. Wait, I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. Yeah, just a bit. And I'm going to scoot this up. Yeah. Feel like you're trying to break this strap apart. And do it nice and slow and controlled, right? So we're not just flicking up and down. Yeah, like that. Yep. So we go through life being miserable because we think we're separate. We think we're all different. How can that be if we were all created in the image of God? The next time you come down, flip it. Same thing, pull it. You're coming up. But we have become so identified with what we are not that we have forgotten what we are. What are we? A child of God. What are we? Created in the image of God. The Atman is created in the image of God. The Atman, the soul, can never be damaged. There's no one that needs to do soul work. We need to do ego work. But the soul's perfect. The soul was created in the image of God. We have manifested out of God Almighty. I don't care what you call it. You can call it it. God is both masculine and feminine and beyond that. God is everything and God is nothing. And you have that inside of you that is that as well. The next time you release down, go ahead, scoop that off to the side. Take 2 blocks. And if you don't want to use the blocks, you don't have to use the blocks. The blocks make it a bit more challenging. First or second level. Third level is just a bit too precarious. So you're going to come over to all fours. And you're going to take the fingers and you're going to take them on the inside. So the hands are pointed forward. And like I said, if you don't want to use the blocks, don't use the blocks. Then the elbows are going to come out to the left and the right. If you can, you lower the nose down and then you push up. So. And if you're like, yeah, this is nice, but I've got more in me, 2 options. 1, take the knees behind the hip pointers or come into a regular plank and go up and down. So you've got 3 options to choose from. If you can get the nose all the way to the floor, get it to the floor. Can you press up as slowly as you go down? Be continuous. So there's that part of us, inside of us, that never changes, that never becomes sad, that never becomes angry, that is never jealous, that is neutral, that is constant, that is in that state of bliss. The next time you get down, stay down. We're just going to count back from 18. Keep the elbows straight to the out to the left and the right. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. So no resting on the floor with the head. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push it up nice and slow. Take the blocks, second level. Then you're going to take the right leg, and I want you to bring it up as high to the shoulder as you can. So the blocks are going to make it a little bit more challenging here. Then I want you to keep it pressing in to that arm until it touches the block, or maybe even slides down the block and then comes up. And then you do the same thing with the left leg, going up and down. If you can keep that pressure on that arm and block the whole way down, go for it. Alternating between the 2 sides. Each time, maybe you can get it a little higher as you slide down and you slide up. Same option, so if you want a little more challenging, you can scoot the legs back slightly behind the hip pointers, or you can do this in plank as well too. So slide down the leg, slide down the arm, and then slide up, and then take it back. Nice, Lacey. Notice which side feels a little bit more challenged here. Is it strength or is it flexibility that's challenging it? Is it that mobility? So we've got this part inside of us that is created in the image of God, but we have forgotten it. We manifest it from God. Nice, Joel. But instead of identifying with that, we identify with the thoughts so much that it is the thoughts, the mind, that create this body that we have in this lifetime. That's how identified with our thoughts we are. We are more identified with the thoughts, so we create this body based on our thoughts. All of the body is in the mind, but not all of the mind is in the body. So we've created this. Because we're more identified with our thoughts. We believe our thoughts more than what we actually are. Finish this one and do 2 more on each side. It's pretty crazy how much we have forgotten. And because we have forgotten who we are, that means we have forgotten who all other beings are. The same light shines in every being. Every being, everything has the same God light in it, just layered over with less or more dirt. The only difference. After you've done your last 2, do about 5 cat and cows. At the end of the 5th, and this is where the blocks will make this easier too. And it wouldn't be 2 because you're going to stay stationary. So if you need to come to the highest level to get your leg to wrap around, that's perfectly fine. So you're going to start by bringing the legs together. Then you're going to wrap the right leg around. Maybe you can push the right leg straight, and then you're going to alternate and take the left leg around. If you can keep the right leg off the floor, so if we need to stagger a little bit, that's fine. If you can keep the right and the left leg off the floor as you go around, go for it. If it doesn't feel like it wants to go all the way around, that's okay too. So all this work that we're doing in our practice, in our daily practice, in our daily sadhana, right? We're trying to wake up. We're trying to just remember who we are. The kingdom of Atman is within. Finish this set, do 2 more, and then when you start the 3rd one, just stop with the right leg in front. And when you get the right leg in front, you're going to press back, keep that leg wrapped, press back into some sort of a downward facing dog. Maybe the leg doesn't stay wrapped all the way. That is not a big deal. Maybe it just hangs out to the side. That's fine too. Then you're going to come forward. And as you come forward, try not to let the legs touch unless you absolutely just need a little bit of a break. So the leg doesn't have to wrap all the way around. You can still keep squeezing it. Keep squeezing those legs together, wrapped or not. Come forward and press back. So because we are so identified, right, with that which we are not, we have forgotten the we forgot the unity, and we're more focused on the diversity. What does that do for us? It keeps us separated. It keeps us against them, you against me. My kids are more important than your kids. The next time you get back with that leg wrapped, and you can take the blocks with you too, you can walk it back. And maybe you just stay in this kind of tight bent Garudasana. Maybe you stay with the hands on the floor. Maybe you can wrap the right arm underneath so that you don't need the hands on the floor to balance you. But if you need the hands there, by all means. And then maybe you can come up to some sort of a standing pose. Squeeze those thighs together. Where's the breath now? Can you slow down the momentum of the breath? Can you squeeze the legs more tightly? Can you drop down a little bit deeper maybe? Keep the legs wrapped. You're going to lower down. When you get low enough, your hands are going to come back down. You're going to walk the legs or the arms forward. Unwind that leg and lift it way up at the spine. That's sort of there. You want to keep the hips. Open the hip. So it might be different. What we want, and that's okay. Your body intuitively will say, hey, this feels really good. Lower that leg down, drop to the knees, bring the second leg in front. And we're going to do that same thing on the second side. So you're going to press back into some version of a downward facing dog, right? Then you're going to come forward. You're going to try to keep the legs off the ground if you can. So we're so focused on the I amness, the I maker, the ego, right? Our personas, our masks that we wear. You know, and the mask just doesn't start with being like a mother or a father or whatever your profession is, or being white or being female. The mask go into what neighborhood do you live in, right? I mean, we have neighborhoods in Dayton that people think are better than other neighborhoods, and they think that they're better because they live in those neighborhoods. We wear a mask based on our educational level. A few more times, coming forward and going back. All those masks keep us segregated. So maybe about 3 more, and then go back into whatever eagle you want to go into. You don't look at your left hand and despise it. You don't look at your right foot and take a hammer to it because it's your right foot and not your left foot. You don't shave one side of your head. Well, I guess some people do. You don't clip nails on one side and let the other ones grow. You don't poke out your right eye and keep your left eye. You don't cut off your left ear and keep your right ear. Why? Because it's all you, right? It's all one being. So you don't intentionally hurt your right pointer finger because the fingernail's shaped differently. You don't look at the toes and say, I have no use for you because I have fingers, and you cut the toes off. But that is what we do to people that we think are different than us. Oh, you're not educated. You're less than me. Your skin color is different. We can't be friends. Oh, a big one, right? Your religion is different. Your God is different than my God. Ugh, your God's wrong. My God's right. There's one God. But we put God in this tiny little box and make God live there. Okay, we're going to unwind. Keep the legs wrapped. So you go down and then you unwind, walk the hands forward, and then lift that leg way up behind you. Same thing, you decide however you want to open that leg or not open the leg, and then lower it down. So we're going into Virabhadrasana 2, but you have the option to use a block if you want. You don't need to. First level. And from downward facing, and if you find that you can't quite get your foot on the block in downward facing dog, come up and stand and then put the right foot on it. So this is going to make it a little bit harder. So your right foot's going to be on the block, and then you're going to step back into your Virabhadrasana 2. So if you can bring that foot up there, and you don't have to use the block. And then spin it open and come into Virabhadrasana 2. And if at any point you're like, yeah, I've been on the block long enough, let me move it. That's okay as well too. So let's be kind to the shoulders. So let's just turn the palms forward instead of down tonight. Can you look down and try to make that right thigh parallel to the floor? Maybe you need to scoot that back leg back a little bit. If it's comfortable, I want arch to heel alignment. Push the right leg straight. Push back into that lunge. Push the right leg straight. Push back into that lunge. Do that 5 more times. Because if we could wake up and remember that that same God light is shining forth from everything, that everything is a manifestation of God. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you think of God as he or she or a tree. That's irrelevant. Because God is everything and beyond everything. He is everything and nothing. She is everything and nothing. Interlace the fingers behind the back of the head. Take that right knee down to that right elbow down to the right knee. Do it 7 times. Right? We think God has favorites. That's really crazy to me. How could we put God in such a box that she has favorites? She likes a certain skin color better than other skin colors. Certain people are the chosen ones. The 7th time, stay down. We have favorites, so we impose that trait on God Almighty. Bring it back up, extend out with those arms, nice, strong, Virabhadrasana 2. Now we're moving into Utthita Trikonasana, so you might want the second block for this one, especially if you have that block there. So if you're going into Utthita Trikonasana, you can take the block and place it to the outside or inside. Outside gives you a little bit more space in the chest. So your arms come up, you push forward, and then come down, rest the hand on the block. See if you can pull back that left hip. And you have different levels to play with the block as well, too. See if you can lengthen here and kind of crunch through here. Yeah, I'm going to flip this up just a little bit to give you a little more space. Yeah, so then lengthen here again and kind of feel like you're kind of crunch. Yeah, and then take this. Nice. Go ahead and release. Take it back to downward facing dog. Reset in downward facing dog, so maybe you need to make a couple moves, but then see if you can become still here. Can bring the hands up to where my feet are. Bring the hands up here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now push back. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can show you actually a good down dog for you when we come to, actually, let's just do it quickly. So drop to the knees. Bring those shoulders back, our elbows so they're right underneath the shoulders. Okay, now I want you to slide the knees back here behind the hip pointers. Yep. Okay, now press back to downward facing dog. Yeah, nice. Mm-hmm. Now let's get ready for the second side, block or not. Virabhadrasana 2. So when we see our divinity, guess what? We will see the divinity everywhere. As long as I don't see my divinity, what do I see? Oh, I see my family. I see my job. I see my friends. I see my neighborhood. I see my city. I see my state. I see my country. When we see the divinity within ourselves, we will see the divinity everywhere. And we will no longer hurt because it's one. Just as it would be completely crazy for me to take a hammer to my left hand simply because it is my left hand. Okay, up and down 7 times with that leg. Sorry, this one first. Yep. And then we do the interlacing going to the back, or going down to the knee. This is why our practice is so important. Because when we see that divinity, right? I don't look at my left hand like I'm doing it a favor. Oh, I'm clipping you today. I'm clipping you nails. I don't really like you, but I'm going to clip your nails anyway. I'm going to give you some lotion. Right? That's how we look when we're doing things for people that we think are different than us. No, I just put lotion on my hands and I rub them in equally. Even though I'm right-handed and right dominant, my right hand is not my favorite. Right? We should not have favorites. It does not mean that we don't have different jobs and different responsibilities for people in our lives. I have a different responsibility to Riley. Than to Bob across the street. But does that mean I shouldn't love Bob? When you're ready, go into Utthita Trikonasana triangle. I don't have the responsibility to make. I enjoy making Riley a cup of tea every morning. I'm not going to go over and make Bob a cup of tea every morning. I suppose if he wanted it and he really liked it, I would. But with our parents, with our children, with our family members, right? Why shouldn't you have so much just pure excitement and joy? Go ahead, release, take it back, downward facing dog. For another person's child as you have for your child. Why shouldn't you get so excited when you see a baby that is not your baby? Because it's attachment, it's not love. Come to a forward plank. If you need to drop down to the knees to get situated here, you can, but otherwise drop the right forearm and the left forearm down so we're in a forearm plank. Try not to poke the butt up. If you need at any point, you can drop the knees. And I want you to feel like you're trying to draw the elbows back towards the toes, and at the same time bring the toes up towards the elbows. It should make you shake. Access your Sankalpa Shakti, your willpower, your determined effort to stay here. You're stronger than you think you are. What if you say, I can stay here one more count? And you keep saying that. I can stay here another count. I can stay here another count. I can do this. I can stay here another count. I can stay here another count. I've got 3 more counts in me. After you've got those 3 counts out, go ahead and release. Arms are already there, so let's come into Sphinx. Elbows underneath the shoulders. Make it an active Sphinx. Pull back. Relax the shoulder heads away, so let them open up away from the sternum. We're not trying to drop in. You can stay here. If you want to go into Cobra or upward facing dog, you can do that. If you want to do and go into Dhanurasana, you can do that. So pick some of your back bends that seem to be calling you, or maybe you're like, you know what? I think Makrasana feels pretty good. Then go there. So the next time you see someone as different than you, examine what it is that you're seeing that is different. Is it their belief system? Is it their educational level? Is it their skin color? Is it their job? Go ahead and release. And let's all take Makrasana for a couple breaths. Underneath all of our muck, our dirt, our grime, the ego I amness, the asmita, right? Lies the Atman. God is closer to you than your own heart. Now you can decide if you want to go to all fours or downward facing dog to let the back just kind of get a little bit more space in it. Not child's pose though, because we're not finished with back bends yet. Hang on. Go ahead and drop to the knees. So, swing the legs to the left or right, and we're going to go into Setu Bandhasana with a block. And you can stay in Setu Bandhasana, or if you want to move in to a back bend, you can. So if the back is feeling kind of tight, obviously you want to start on the lower level. You've got second level or highest level. So we're going to be here for a few breaths. So make yourself so that you feel like you can stay there. Perhaps you can interlace the hands underneath the back. And if at any point during this journey you're like, ooh, I think I'm ready to go into some back bends, then go into back bends. And if anyone's going into a back bend and you would like to use my ankles, they're available. No extra charge tonight since it's Guru Purnima week. be funny if people charged you.
Insects spell.
50 cents for the right ankle and 50 cents for the left. You can buy 5 adjustments for $3 tonight.
I'm doing a fundraising help.
All proceeds go to Traditional Yoga Society. Couple more breaths. So if we recognize our divinity, right, and we see that divinity in others, then guess what? Then we see the entire world as divine. We see the entire world as a manifestation of God, and we see the entire world as Leela, God's divine play, God's divine game, Leela game. If it's a game, why do we get so worked up about it? It's God's game. We're here to play our part the best we can. And we can play it better the more practice we do. Everything goes back to practice. All beings want 2 things. They want happiness, right? And they want to avoid suffering. How do you do that? By your practice. If you see the world as divine, you see all inhabitants as divine, there's no suffering. Suffering comes from the mind. Our closing prayer, may all be free from suffering. Not may all be free from karma. May all be free by the way we perceive suffering. Having that equanimity in the mind, that stillness. Go ahead, release off the block. Come down nice and slow. Squeeze the legs in. Let's just do a little bit of a happy baby. So take the hands to the arches of the feet, inside, outside. You can hang on to the pants too if you want, and just press the knees towards the earth. Maybe you want to roll to the left and the right, get a little bit of massage going. Now we're moving into a hip stretch. So if you feel like you want to stay on the floor to do this hip stretch, because the hips tend to be a little bit resistant for you, then stay on the floor. If you feel like we're moving into Agni-Stambhasana. So if you've got a little bit more mobility, you can bring the legs in, squeeze them in, roll up. First option, so if you want to come up, you can always do this as well. Seat it as well as on the floor. So, but if you're going into Agni-Stambhasana, right, you have that mobility. Maybe you're just fine just like this and you can use blocks and come forward. If you want to get into the hips a little bit more, then you take your right foot, place it so that it's parallel to the long line of the mat, flex through that foot, take it. Now, if you're like really high up on this, you can always use a block. But the bolster makes it quite a bit more challenging here. And then you can take the hands on blocks in front. You don't have to use blocks. You can make a little tower so the head can rest on blocks. So we're going to be here for a few breaths. So figure out what's going to be beneficial for you. And breathe.
Sound.
If the breath has gone back to being loud, jerky, If there's pauses, if it's shallow, do something about it. Ask yourself why you love others more than other people. Why you think your path is right. When you practice yoga, your umbrella should get big enough for everybody to be under it. Not just the people that go to the same church as you, or the people that live in the same neighborhood as you, or the people that like the same music as you. Or the people that like the same distractions as you. Right? We think folks going to the country bars are hicks. But the ones going to the classy bars, drinking wine or drinking some sort of fancy cocktail, they're better. Distraction's distraction. If it's keeping you from recognizing the divinity in all, if it's keeping you miserable, I don't care how pretty the distraction looks. It is still a distraction. And it is keeping you from your inner dweller. Right? We think less of people who watch NASCAR than people who play chess. Why? With the inhalation, bring it up and switch. We think more of someone who is a doctor or an attorney, someone who has letters behind their name. They can be a thief, they can be a cheat, they can be a scoundrel, but we think more of them than we do the trash man who could be completely honest and full of integrity and kind. We have to examine the contents of our minds. I mean, if you enjoy everything you're doing and feel like you don't need to change, I mean, come back and do it again. I personally, I hope I make some strides in this lifetime, so I'm a little bit closer. I don't want to go through the diaper phase again. Learning how to read, learning how to write, how to talk, how to walk. How monotonous. With the inhalation, bring it up. If you need to give the legs a little shake, you can. If you've got the bolster there, that's fine. You can keep it there. Feet So have them, yeah, once you squeeze the feet and legs together, wrap the right arm around, just go into a very gentle twist. Take the twist to the second side. Unwind, come back to center, flip around, go into Paschimottanasana for 2 to 3 breaths, and then come to the back as we prepare for relaxation. And then when we do relaxation, or after we're finished with relaxation, when we come to seated, we'll face towards the east. So we'll face towards the street for our guided meditation. So when you come to the back for relaxation, if you need to put a blanket over you, because we tend to get, the body temperature does tend to drop. If you want to put a bolster underneath the knees, you want to put something over the eyes, do whatever you need to do. Would you like that? Do you need something to cover up? You can. Then we allow the space at the crown of the head to relax. The space in between the eyebrows, relax. Temples, relax. Eyes, nose, mouth, relax. Chin, jawline, ears, relax. Neck, throat, relax. Shoulders, upper arms, elbows, forearms, relax. Wrist, palms, fingers, relax. Tailbone, lower back, middle back, upper back, relax. Chest, belly, all the internal organs, relax. Hips, buttocks, relax. Thighs, knees, shins, calves, relax. Ankles, heels, arches, tops of the feet, balls of the feet, toes, relax. The entire body has become totally, completely relaxed. Now returning to the breath, directing it to the toes and the fingers, and gently begin to wiggle them. And then allowing the body to stretch and to move as if for the first time today. And when it feels right, rolling to whichever side is beckoning. And when the body decides it's time, bringing it to a seated posture. When you get to that seated posture, doing whatever you need to do so the head, neck, and trunk can be straight. So if that means elevating on a blanket, a bolster, blocks, perhaps placing blocks underneath the thighs. And just taking a couple of breaths, noticing the quality of the breath. Does it feel naturally more serene? Do you have more awareness of the breath? The next exhalation, visualize the breath going from the crown down to the tips of the toes, not beyond. As soon as the breath makes it to the toes, the inhalation brings it back up to the crown. Continuous, without sound, without jerks. Next exhalation, take the breath to the ankles. The inhalation brings it up. The next exhalation, take the breath to the knees. The inhalation, bring it up. The next exhalation to the tip of the tailbone. And back up to the crown. Inhaling up and exhaling down. The next exhalation to the lower belly. The next exhalation to the solar plexus region. The next exhalation to the heart. Inhaling back to the crown of the head. The next exhalation to the throat center and inhaling back to the crown of the head. The next exhalation to that space between the nostrils, that bit of skin. Inhaling and exhaling here. Feeling the entire inhalation, the entire exhalation, the warmth of the inhalation, the warmth of the, the coolness of the inhalation, the warmth of the exhalation. Staying at that space between the nostrils. the next inhalation, coming up to that space between the eyebrows. Inhaling and exhaling in that space. Knowing that you are just the observer. So you may hear sounds, but you're just observing them. You're not participating in them. You may have thoughts, but you're not engaging, so they come and they go. And you return back to the breath, back to the prana, to that space between the eyebrows. Returning to the breath, the nose. Becoming aware of the inhalation and the exhalation. Become aware of how the breath is flowing. Become aware of the body, the room. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhagavate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May all be happy. May it all be healthy. May all experience prosperity in everything. May all be free from suffering. Om, peace, peace, peace. Bringing the hands together at the heart, bowing the head to the heart. The knowing that your inner dweller is closer to you than your own heart. Let me cherish those that God cherishes. Let me forgive those that God forgives. Let me serve those that God serves. Let me love those that God loves. Jai Guru.